Okay. So as everyone knows, let's start by chanting Om 3 times. A deep breath in. Om. 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 Slowly and gradually, when we feel like it, when we open our eyes, धीरे से आंखें खोल सकते हैं. Om yo vai brahmanam vidadati purvam yo vai vedanscha prahinoti tasmai tam hadeva atma buddhi prakasham mukshurvai sharanamaham prapadye. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So yesterday we looked at Buddhi Prayuktam Manu. How does the intellect along with the mind move towards the senses? So then the next step comes, okay, all of this is happening. I'm experiencing joy, I'm experiencing sorrow. All of these senses are creating some impact in me. So then Gurudev says so beautifully that even though all the senses, all of this is creating a certain impact, we are experiencing the world and it is creating joy, it is creating misery, and you start understanding, oh, this is how the senses move outward, this is how we experience. But where is the source of joy? It's inside. What is the joy that you find in the world? And if you notice, then joy is not when someone unmutes themselves by mistake. Joy is when there is no one who unmutes themselves by mistake. After hearing all these wonderful things, Buddhi Prayukta Mano, all of this, and suddenly you hear someone unmuting themselves totally by mistake, and yet the mind gets so caught up in that. But when the same thing we're able to recognize and see, hey, this is just the mind playing its games. It's very easy when we are discussing in a class, in a classroom setting, everyone's सब लोग मुंडी हिलाते हैं, हाँ जी, yes, of course, right, I agree. But when the time comes, if I'm able to utilize this, now we are talking. So Gurudev says very beautifully, the same thing that can take you off balance, the same thing can be utilized to reach the heights. Gurudev says, his words are so beautiful. The peak of any sensory or sexual experience takes you inward. So it's only when we are not able to enjoy life to its fullest, every moment to its fullest, that it starts taking us outward. But when, say, I have a sensory perception, I can get the maximum joy out of it. Then the mind does not go outward anymore. Everyone is moving towards joy, but people are not joyful. In fact, they're opposite because they're clinging on to the sense object rather than the source of joy. And for me, this is such a beautiful way of explaining. Many people ask this question, if this whole world is full of consciousness, why is there even misery at all? So I have something stuck in my mouth, which is why I'm making all these strange faces. So Gurudev says, hence the world is a very beautiful package. The world is not bad, but it's just a piece of wrapping paper, a beautiful gift. But if you're stuck with the wrapping paper, you'll never even open the gift. I remember once upon a time, long, long ago, not so far away here in the ashram, Gurudev was, uh, Gurudev used to sit every week and we would, wherever in the world he was, and whoever would be around at that time, the knowledge sheets would come out. So they would all be discussing something, some questions would get asked, or they would give some very beautiful insights. And all of that would be collated and sent across as knowledge sheets. So here in the ashram, it was during those early days of knowledge sheets. We were here and we were sitting in Shakti Kutir. In those days, Gurudev used to be, that was his kutir. And so we're all sitting there. And suddenly someone, and Gurudev was talking about there is knowledge present in every particle of creation. Someone smiled and said, Gurudev, you're giving us all these chocolates. What is the knowledge present in these chocolates? And Gurudev smiled and said, the joy that we find from the world is like popping these chocolates into the mouth. When the wrapping paper is there, some sweetness leaks out. But if you want to taste the real sweetness, you have to unwrap the sweet, remove the wrapping paper, and go deeper inside. That's where you'll find the true sweetness. And this is so beautiful. Even when we put the sweet along with the wrapping paper, some sweetness does leak out. When we enjoy the world, we definitely experience some joy. Put a chocolate cake in the mouth, at least my mouth, I experience joy, no doubt about it. Often, when people on the spiritual path say, well, there is no joy in the world, there's joy in the self, all of these things, many people say yes, yes, because they don't want to hurt the person. Yet inside they're saying, but I enjoy my cup of coffee. Wow, coffee with Kashi, amazing. Oops, was that Karan? But if you look at it in a certain sense, the world does give us joy. The world does provide some amount of experience, some experiential. And that is why, even though we might be nodding our head, we still say, in the depths of our own experience, I say, well, but I still see joy in the world. And this explanation by Gurudev opened it up so beautifully for me. We don't have to negate the world. We don't have to say there is no joy in the world. Of course, have your cup of coffee, do whatever. Uh, if you like coffee, you don't have to say, oh, Kashi had told me to have coffee, but I don't like coffee, but I will have coffee. No, not at all. But when I recognize that the source of joy is not there only, it's just one of the intermediate steps, then I can be full. Then life can be so fulfilling. Then we don't get stuck. One who can see beyond the wrapping paper and see the joy that is beyond, then something happens. So, what does the next sutra say? Vishaya Sukham Dukkhavat Parityajam. Vishaya Sukham Dukkhavat Parityajam. Vishaya Sukham. Vishaya means the object of the senses. Eyes are seeing. So, what the eyes see is the Vishaya for the eyes. What the ears hear is Vishaya for the ears. Visha is different. Visha is poison. Vishaya is object of the senses. Vishaya Sukham. We get sukha from, we get joy from various sources. We get pleasure from various sources. What does the Rishi say here? Buddhi prayuktam mano bahendriya Vishayam pratipadyate. How do I get aware of the object of senses? Well, the buddhi and the manas go outward through the senses, and I'm able to perceive objects of senses. Now I'm doing all this perception. Now, some of it is giving me misery, some of it is not giving me misery. So here the Rishi gives an insight. He says, Vishaya Sukham. When you start seeing pleasure in the outside, Dukkhavat Parityaja. Dukkhavat. Dukkha means like Dukkha. Even though it is pleasure, consider it as if it is misery. It is not that it is misery. Sukham equals Dukkham, he never said. But he said, Sukham Dukkhavat Parityaja. Often, when people hear these or talk about the Vedanta, they said, well, the world is full of misery. Drop the world, renounce the world, take sannyas, all of this. And maybe it sounds great to hear. You say, well, Kashi Bhaiya, with your long hair and beard, no ties to the world, you can say all these things. But here, the Rishi is very clear. It says, Dukkhavat Parityaja. Why should you think of it as Dukkhavat? Why should you equate it with Dukkha? Like Dukkha. Why is it like misery? How can pleasure be like misery? So Gurudev says very beautifully, and this is where I find such beauty in Gurudev's explanations. And the more I listen to them, the more I experience them, it really brings out such an understanding. He says, as long as you hold on to the wrappers, you cannot get past them. Like if you're holding stones in your hands will not be free to hold diamonds or gold because your hands are full of rocks. You have to drop the rocks in order to pluck the flowers. For me, this is such a beautiful insight. If you're a sadhak, if you really want the highest, and if you're holding on to something that is not the highest, then at that point of time, that is also misery. That is like misery. Even though it is giving you some joy, even though it is giving you some pleasure, it has given you the pleasure that you needed to have. Now drop it. And when this understanding comes, that is when we are able to drop it. Even a child has a chocolate in the hand, but someone comes and shows a bigger bar of chocolate. The child drops the older one, holds on to the new one. You have an amazing job. Someone comes and gives you an offer you can't refuse. You say, well, this is a very good thing, but this is something I can't refuse. My priorities are clear. This is what I want. Do you get what I'm saying? So a lot of times when we look at life, then it's a question of priorities. Now, I'm not saying drop your job and leave. And no, not at all. But at the level of our awareness, I see some pleasure coming from the sense objects. Someone is speaking very nicely. Kashif is speaking so nicely. I'm getting so much pleasure. Wow, Kashif, I think I should keep listening to you. Why don't you come more often? Done, finished, gone in the ditch once again. Every time you start looking for pleasure outside, then after some time, you start seeing that same thing gets you misery also. Wake up and see. The real pleasure is inside. Everything that you get from outside. So this is not about working. This is not about fulfilling your responsibilities, but this is about the innate tendency of seeing that the outside has the pleasure and I want it. You can still continue to do your work. You can still continue to do everything that you're doing. In fact, when the hankering for pleasure goes away, then we can actually do much more, achieve much more. So this sutra so beautifully tells Vishaya Sukham Dukkhavat Parityajam. Misunderstanding this, people get into so much self-doubt, so much guilt. that, oh my God, I should be not indulging in this. Why am I indulging? I am a hopeless person. Look at Kashif is talking about the highest, and I'm still stuck about this. Not at all. This sutra is not at all to bring guilt in you, but to make us aware of this possibility that there is so much that we are capable of. And look at the rocks and look at the diamonds. The moment I become aware that this is a rock and that's a diamond, that's when things fall off very naturally. Till the time I don't see this as a rock and see that as a diamond, I will still keep holding on to this. So maybe you start saying, well, is it? And Gurudev gives a very beautiful explanation why this is so. He says, our senses have a limited capacity to enjoy, but the desire to enjoy is infinite. And that is where the obsession begins. The mind wants to enjoy, but your body is tired of enjoying. So, understanding where this is coming from, your mind is not satisfied with the limited joy. It wants unlimited joy. That's why it wants more. And this is very natural. This is the natural tendency because this is what allows us to get back to the source where the true joy is. Once someone asked Gurudev, why is there so much misery in the world? If, if God would have wished, could have made everyone happy and things would be perfect, it would be heaven. So Gurudev smiled and said, even with so much misery, we are not ready to leave the world. Let go of it. Imagine if there was only joy, no one would have even thought there's something more than this world. So every challenging situation helps bring our skills in action. How we take it, this is the lakshana of a sadhak. This is the quality of a sadhak, of a person on the spiritual path. How we take the situations that come in front of us. So this sutra, Vishaya Sukham Dukkhavat Parityajya, is a very beautiful technique. It is not a statement saying that the world is misery. It is saying, hey, see if you can look at the even the joy that you're getting when you say, hey, this is like a rock in front of the diamond of some other joy, then you're able to disengage the craving for sukha that is there, that drops off. You don't let go of sukha. It's not that you should get pain in your life. It's not that if you're a vairagi, oh, I'm a dispassionate person, I should not have an iPhone. I should not. I should not live comfort. I should not turn on the AC. I should swelter in the heat. No, no, not at all. So you can have all of that, but as long as the craving for that subsides, now we are talking. Does this make sense? And for me, this is the beauty of this sukha. Vishaya sukham dukkhavat parityajya. Can you can you practice this to the extent we are able to practice it? To that extent, joy dawns in us. Whatever object gives us pleasure, the same thing will give you misery also. So recognizing this, even the Upanishad says, the Ishavasya Upanishad says, Tena tyaktena bhunjita. By renouncing, you enjoy. If I really want to enjoy this world, then letting go of the hooks that the world has in me allows me to be enjoyable in this world. It's like the whole world has an umpteen number of hooks in me. Someone says something, I'm going to react in a certain way. After Kashibhaya finishes talking, as soon as he allows us to unmute ourselves, I am going to unmute and be the first to speak. Nothing wrong in that. But when we start looking at this whole thing that, oh, my enjoyment, I'm getting joy from the senses, yet there is another source of joy that is unlimited. I have access to that. Now, ye aaye jaye ki farak pehta. when all of this comes and goes, so what? That allows us to engage with the world much better and disengage when needed much better. So the sutra for today is Vishaya Sukham Dukkhavat Parityajya. And I think this much is good enough for today. We have just, okay, we'll do one more sutra for today. Prakritis Trigunavalambiನಿ. Just a simple sentence, yet such beauty. Prakriti. Actually, I'll take this up tomorrow. It is such a beautiful sutra. There is so much in this, just Prakritis Trigunavalambiनी, that we'll really take our time and explore it tomorrow. But for today, just this idea, Vishaya Sukham Dukkhavat Parityajya. Just identifying the difference between rejecting the world and being unaffected by the world. There's a veil of a difference between the two. Unfortunately, rejecting the world seems to have been termed as sannyas. But like Adi Shankara says, Kasya sukham na karoti viraga. What is that sukha? What is that pleasure that vairagya cannot give you? And when we come on the silence course, on the advanced course, this becomes such a beautiful experience. In the process of silence, in the process of letting go of speech, there is such unparalleled joy that wells up in just the process of letting go of one of the senses. So a lot of these might seem like words, but when we do the silence course, that's when all of this comes as a reality. Otherwise, a lot of times, dunya ki bhagdauड़ mein, in this rat race of the world, a lot of this seems esoteric, or it seems, I don't think I can really reach up to. For some of us, yes, it's of course a possibility. It's so real, and that's great luck to be able to have the suitable conditions to be able to do this. But if you find that it's a very difficult thing to experience in day-to-day life, take some time off, go on a silence program, and I tell you, all of this knowledge comes out so beautifully in just 3 days of experiencing the silence, right? Great. So it's time for the floor to open. So anyone wants to say something or share something, the buzzer round starts.
Yes, Kashiji.
The first on the buzzer, yes, Nina.
Yeah, because I've done a lot of painting, and even when I'm editing in film, I'm by myself. So silence is golden for me, because it's me and the canvas, me and editing, so there's no disturbance or anything. And when I came to this, when you say you look for something higher, and I know words are not important, because words just are a tool to help you understand, but you have to get much deeper than words. If you get stuck in the words, it's like the wrapper, So, but still, instead of higher, I prefer my connection with the ultimate. Ultimate to me is all-inclusive, and it's to do with Brahm, to do with space, to do with infinity. Whereas higher implies that there's also a lower. And, there's a hierarchy in that. So I understand what it means, and I don't take it literally, but I just feel that when I use the word ultimate, what is the Sanskrit or Hindi equivalent for ultimate?
Ultimate, parakashtha, ultimate.
What is it?
Parakashtha, it's like para is beyond.
Beyond, yeah. Parakasht. Achha. Okay, because somehow, because very long ago I'd made a film on rural hierarchy, the caste hierarchies and all. And I realized that that hierarchy is coming in the way, and all these levels, everything comes in the way of true relationships. So when I say ultimate, it doesn't put you in a box. It doesn't put you know what I mean?
Absolutely. So if words can put you in a box, then
So I
there's work to
I
do.
don't take them literally. That's what I said.
Yeah,
I sort of
exactly.
said that. Yeah.
So anyway, that's a great insight. Yeah, definitely ultimate. And anyone else? Anyone wants to say
Poonam,
something?
good word.
Parakashtha. Para is ultimate, beyond. Okay. Wow, there is ultimate silence today, which is so inspiring. I talked about a silence course, and people have taken me very literally, which is so satisfying. Wow. So, homework for today. Really, this is such a beautiful practice to do. Amlaji, you're saying something.
What I was saying is that you explained it so beautifully that the pleasures have to the objects of the senses. We have to look beyond them because dukh vat jo aapne bataya na, find
Bilkul.
that pleasure gives us unhappiness only. The joys are very, very short lived. The joy that we get out of a pleasure is so short lived. And because of that, the diminishing law of economics, that, that the first time it will give you a little pleasure, and the second and the third time it becomes less and less, and it will be the cause of your misery.
So
So that's
totally.
so beautifully explained, Kashmir. Very well.
Absolutely, Amlaji. Our rishis use such beautiful words when they're so precise. Instead of saying dukkha, they said dukkhavat, like dukkha.
Huh,
And I think
huh.
that makes the whole difference when it makes it so relatable to our day-to-day life.
Mhm. But it is so true that pleasure will bring about so much unhappiness. तो दुख vat
Exactly.
बेशक हम discard करें, but that is the truth. That is the underlying
Exactly.
of all pleasures.
Exactly. But just like फर्स्ट स्टैंडर्ड के बच्चे को यदि कैलकुलस सिखाया जाए तो कहेगा यार हमको मैथ्स ही नहीं चाहिए, पर
Mhm.
शुरुआत यदि A+B से किया जाए तो धीरे धीरे लेते 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 फिर पहुंच ही जाता है कैलकुलस तक. So the whole idea of our rishis was such a beautiful way of saying that let's start wherever each one of us is, and we can start building on top of that, and step by step the guru would take the disciple. And I feel this is what Gurudev is doing with all of us. There are so many different avenues he gives for each and every. There are people who like to want to start at certain level, those who want something else, that's also available. And I think that is what makes it so interesting for me on this path, to see how people from all kinds of all walks of life are able to connect with Gurudev so beautifully, isn't it, Amlaji?
Yes, because Gurudev is so full of compassion. We have to, when we come near Gurudev or seek his proximity, we have to open ourselves to what he is, his consciousness. Then only we will, rise one step forward, one step higher. By catching his consciousness, not his words, the way he is compassionate towards us, the way he cares for us, that is what we have to catch when we are.
So totally, Amlaji. So homework for today is, we see this Vishaya Sukham Dukkhavat Parityaja. How can we live in this world and yet not be caught up in the pleasures? This is not to say we are rejecting the pleasures, yet by starting to see that when compared with something a little higher, there is no need for me to hold on to something like this. When I compare it with something that's ultimate, then there's no need for me to hold on to that which is not ultimate. So, giving in to the ultimateness of today's session, I'll let you all go and rest. And tomorrow we'll meet again, and we'll see where does this all ultimately lead us to. Jai Guru Night.